Hey Snowboard Nation, Taevis here, and in this video we're going deep dive the frontside board slide, figuring out what makes this trick work and what are some mistakes that you want to avoid in order to go and figure out this legendary tricky trick. So first of all, front boards aren't done in any one way, but there are a few principles you want to be hitting on every single one. We're going to go over those and go over some common mistakes that you can make, and then go over some training routines that you can do in order to make your front board smoother and cleaner than they would normally be. Because this is one of those tricks that takes a really long time to figure out, no matter your riding level. So when we're going and looking at what makes a proper front board, the first thing is you want to make sure that you're being patient on the takeoff. By delaying your takeoff until your tail leaves off the end of the lip, it makes it so you have, first of all, your nose of your snowboard naturally over top of the rail, making it so you don't need to pop as high onto it. It also goes and puts you further down the rail, making it so you have less rail to slide. And the other really important thing it does is it makes it so you don't need to rely on overextending your legs in order to get up onto that rail. If you go and try to do your front board with your legs fully extended, popping up, you're going to go and land on the rail in this unbalanced position where you have no bend in your legs. This is going to make you go and really be susceptible to whatever angle you got on. So if you got on slightly nose heavy, the first thing you're going to need to do is add bend into your legs and try to rebalance through leaning. But by keeping a little bit of bend in your legs, you can go and just shift from takeoff into your front board position. This makes it way easier to go and actually hold this super rotated position, letting you go and pull it back. What brings us to the next step, and that is head positioning. You really want to keep your head positioning underneath your armpit towards the end of a rail down. When you go and keep your spot underneath your armpit, that's going to go and let you keep your center of mass over the balls of your feet, letting you go and spot the end of the rail while keeping that balance point shifting around. What you don't want to be doing is spotting over your shoulder. Whenever you go and do a spot over your shoulder, it does a couple things. First of all, it elongates your spine, making you go and curve backwards. And that's going to go and make it so you have less connection in your core, being more susceptible to moving. It's also going to make it so when you're going and looking, you're trying to lean that way, making it so you don't have good balance. So the difference of looking over your shoulder to under your shoulder goes and keeps your back more aligned, and it goes and keeps your weight set more over the balls of your feet. And the next part that's really important for frontside board slides is hitting the rail with a little bit of angle. When you're coming into a rail, let's just get to a better front board clip here. It's really important to go and land with a slight little angle up towards the rail. What this does is it goes and stops your sideways momentum. If you go and land, say, if we go and look at this clip here, if you come in and land with your nose angled downwards, what's going to happen is your momentum is going to take you up and make you slide down the feature. And you're always going to have a little bit of momentum traveling you that way, because when you're approaching the feature, you're slightly angled and you're on the balls of your feet, making you go pop up and jump forward. So the way we counterbalance this is through catching the rail. And that just means you're coming into the rail. We can use this one as a great example. You're coming into the rail, landing, and letting your board be slightly angled towards the feature with your nose up, tail down. And that's going to make it so you can go and disperse the sideways momentum, and then you use the last little bit of a sideways momentum to bring you down to flat. So every time you're going and doing a rail like this, it actually makes it so the jump on is less significant, because instead of going and needing to go and jump fully onto the rail, you can just rely on hitting the side slightly and rolling over, again decreasing the amount of up you need to do with your legs. So this one, I go and use it very noticeably. Coming into a rail, hardly popping, letting the board ride off its tail, catching the rail angled, and then once I'm feeling locked in, like I killed enough momentum, I then go and shift my board to flat. So that just means you want to be coming in, letting your nose hit a little bit early, and then rocking over. But when you're doing this, you want to always have your weight preemptively set over top of the rail. So what I mean by having your weight preemptively set over the rail is we don't want to be set on our heels trying to pop up and front board like this, because that doesn't have our weight or center of mass set over top of our front foot. Instead, what we want to do is make sure that we're going and setting our weight forward. Yeah, I'm just going to move the iPad to slow motion. We'll play it through. You want to make sure your weight is set over the rail. You do this by adding more bend in your legs, letting your chest come forward a bit, not hinging at the waist. You never want to have your weight set forward, causing you to fall. Instead, it's the strong posture that just loads more weight on your balls of your feet. You'll know you have it right when you go and pop straight up and you land straight down slightly in front of you. We combine this with a front board motion. That's going to make it so we're set, weight over the rail, pop up, front board, and that's setting our weight directly over our front foot into that stack position. And you really want to do it as little extra movement with your legs as possible. I'm not trying to go set my weight over here and then do a full explosion jump, because that's going to make me travel way too far. Instead, it's about letting your board use your full tail. Looking at this clip here, there's a couple things that go wrong. First of all, he's coming into the jump. Honestly, with pretty good form, this has weight set over the rail, stacked, but a big issue is he goes and starts extending and popping. This makes it so when he's leaving the feature, he's fully extending his legs, and that's causing him to lean towards his toe edge. When you go and take off, lean towards your toe edge on a downhill feature, what's going to happen is you're going to go and start needing to rebalance because you're landing toe edge heavy. Toe edge heavy with a straight body isn't going to give you ability to readjust. Normally for a frontside board slide, we want to go and readjust with our hips. Instead of going and being on the rail and trying to adjust our angle by leaning our top forward or back, instead you want to go and drop the hips, keep them rotated, and that way you can readjust by kicking out or pushing in your hips, giving you a lot more centered, low down point of balance to readjust. But when you come into a rail tall like this and land not absolutely perfect, it's going to make it so the first thing you need to do is rebalance to flat base. That's going to set some more momentum trying to mess you up on the feature, and that's going to cause you to go and lose balance, and that's what we're seeing here. Coming up to the feature, overextending the legs, pre-spinning off the feature, landing super straight-legged, really tall, head positioning's decent, but this tall posture is going to make it so you land, you need to rebalance, and that rebalance is really tricky on the rail. The other major benefit of keeping a bit more bend in your legs is it gives you more ability to rotate. Try this. Try stand completely straight up, pop up, and rotate 90. It's going to be very uncomfortable. But when you go and add this hinge in the hips, butt out, chest over the rail, this gives you a really powerful platform to go and rotate around while maintaining the stack position, allowing you to get way more rotation in the hips. You don't need this much rotation to pull it back to fakie. Fakie is only 90, so you could do it even just with a little bit of shoulders, pop back steezy. But how you start doing like frontboard pretzels is hyper exaggerating this motion and then popping around. Well, that one was bad. Let me just redo that quick. So coming around, and that's going to give you more motion to go and activate. So when you're doing a frontside board slide, there's a few main principles you want to hit. First of all, you want to make sure you're maintaining bend in your legs, having a nice bit of bend, setting your weight over the rail. And that way, when you pop up, you don't need to worry about jumping forward. Instead, your weight will naturally transfer you over the rail, allowing you to go and pop up and rotate your board 90. The next thing you want to do is make sure your spot is always set under your arm, because that's going to go and let you stay in this compound position and lock in your spot at the end of a rail, helping you pull it back. As soon as you go and try look over your shoulder using these techniques, it's going to go and cause your sides to compromise, making the trick so much harder. And then in order to control your sideways momentum, you want to go and make it so you're hitting the feature with a little bit of angle and then rocking over. This is just going to make it so you can control the impact and control your momentum, and that way you aren't slowly sliding across the feature throughout your front board. Going and hitting those 3 principles will make your front boards so much easier, because there's not just one way to do a frontside board slide. Watch all of your favorite pros do this trick. They're all going to do it very differently, and that's completely okay. Frontside board slides are a super stylish, versatile trick that are meant to be adjusted and changed, but you need to make sure you're hitting the main underlying principles on every one. So when you're doing this trick this year, keep that in mind. Make sure that you're setting your weight over the rail, leaving off the lip of the jump on your tail, not going and overextending your legs, keeping a little bit of bend, rotating through, spot under the shoulder, landing a little bit angled, rock over, and pop it back out. Frontside board slides are one of the funnest tricks ever. So versatile, they can really let you go and flow around the features. They're a really good time, but they're really tricky. I personally didn't learn how to do frontside board slides properly until well after I learned how to do my first doubles. So take the time, learn the fundamentals, and you'll be able to go and apply those in a bunch of different ways to make your rails way more fun. I'm Taevis from Snowboard Addiction, and our goal is to improve your riding.